My audience was always the farmer. Like KissanAI or Kisan GPT was also first agriculture generative AI-based chatbot in the whole world. If I go and start releasing this information and give access to everyone, I may go bankrupt very quickly.
All these companies who made farmers wait in line to actually deliver their products or services or answer their questions are now waiting in line for them to get access to the platform that you're building. This is something we justice.
If we can sell AI application to the Indian farmer, then we have a real market fit for AI for everyone.
As you said, once you win the trust of the Kisan, then the possibilities of what you can build on top of it are endless. Hello and welcome back to the Indian Dream podcast. In the last episode, we had discussed about the different ways artificial intelligence can impact India. One of the things that we had discussed was the impact of artificial intelligence on agriculture. 50% of the country's population is employed by the agricultural sector and it contributes to 18% of our national GDP. Interestingly, even the government of India doesn't have an exact number of farmers that we have in the country because different ways of calculating results in different numbers and the range is between 37 million to 115 million. But the point remains, the sector is huge and has tons of challenges that can be impacted positively by the use of artificial intelligence. One such challenge is the knowledge gap of the farmers. With new seeds, fertilizers, and farming techniques coming up every year, combined with the fact that soil is changing every year and so is the environment, the farmer really struggles to keep up. Primarily because they're not educated, but also because there are very few unbiased resources that are available that they can rely on in the language that they understand to truly stay up to date. Enter artificial intelligence. What if a farmer could talk to a bot in their native language and it answers the question based on all the new research and common knowledge that's available? Sounds too good to be true? Well, it isn't. That's exactly what KissanAI does. I spoke to the founder of KissanAI, Dr. Pratik Desai, a computer scientist and an AI expert who comes from a farming family. What's fascinating is that he's sitting all the way in Silicon Valley and solving core problems for the farmers of India and potentially the world's farmers. I won't give away too much, but if you're like me, you live in an urban bubble and have no clue what it takes to actually grow your food and how hard it is on day-to-day basis for the farmers to actually grow the food that we eat. Dr. Desai helped me understand these challenges and also painted a picture about what the future of farming could look like enabled by AI. Before we jump onto the episode, you know the drill. Like, share and subscribe and comment to tell me what can we do to actually improve the quality of the episodes. With that, let's jump into the conversation. Dr. Pratik, I'm so excited to have this conversation. The work that you're doing is extremely fascinating. I've been reading about KissanAI on Twitter and the work that you're doing for the farmers is mind-blowing. The kind of discussions that we've had on what farmers are actually searching for and the kind of information that they can get using the help of artificial intelligence. What I want to talk about to you today is obviously all the advancements that have happened in agriculture in terms of using artificial intelligence, but we're going to start right with KissanAI. Tell us a little bit about how this came about, what led to KissanAI, what was the thesis, how do you relate to the problem? Because I know you're sitting all the way in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, right? So solving for the farmers in India, that itself is a fascinating story.
Yeah, thank you, Sid, for inviting. It has been a quite journey. Like to start my story, before I started KissanAI or the parent company Tutoria, I was here in Silicon Valley and part of co-founding and or founding team member of multiple startup. But for me, it was like never satisfactory because I thought I'm by building some AI product over here, I may be changing someone's life 0.5%. But if I implement something to my core community, because I come from agriculture background, my father still does farming and still associated with farming. From generation, we've been in this community. And I was very much aware of what problem they face. I have faced with my father, like firsthand. So I decided I want to use my experience building AI/ML application for the Indian agriculture domain.
I actually have a question here. A
Yeah,
lot of us live in a bubble where we are not aware of where our food actually comes from and the kind of problems that the farmers face to actually grow this food, right? So if you can
correct.
help us understand what was the divide, right? What is this information that they're
Sure.
looking for? Is it not that once you know what kind of crop to grow and how to grow it, they are set for life? Is it information that keeps changing and therefore they need more information? Tell us a little bit about the problems that they face on a day-to-day
Correct.
basis.
Correct. So start with the problem. So no, they cannot use the one knowledge they have acquired for rest of their life. New disease and pest keep coming. New better quality solutions in terms of pesticides and fertilizer, regularly get introduced. New seed. new recommendation for their weather. Because ultimately, whatever from the traditional method they're producing, we have universities who are doing some research, providing recommendations, or some companies, introducing some solutions. Then there is also demand for natural farming. Maybe not every farmer is aware of that, like how to do that natural solution, organic solution. So the knowledge need to be there. Like it's not that like once they have acquired one crop related thing, they can go like they have to keep updating, and it also helps them to increase the yield. Even let's say they're efficiently doing the work, they believe they're efficiently doing the work, but some new technique introduced, we they would like to also know about it. And we have felt that like the and going to the previous part of it, like we when we live in the bubble, we always thought like the Bharat or the agricultural India, they are not very digital savvy or they're not digital literate, which was very wrong. Because this India also produce 100 billion WhatsApp messages. They have figured out unique way of using WhatsApp to run their business, so they are technical technology savvy. If they find skin in the game, if they think this is helping them out or this is not something that's trying to exploit them, they will use it. They will figure out way to ground it around it. And I have also seen that they do less complaining about technology and start to try to do jugaad around it and figure out how to use it.
So in if the let's forget about Kisan AI for a second, right?
Correct.
Today, how does a farmer actually get all of this relevant updates and new information? What are the sources
Correct.
today?
So there are three or four ways. The first one is they can call Kisan call center, some service provided by government agency, and but that's they have like 21 locations and some thousands of probably people working to support farmers. But that's like 10 to 6. You have to wait in line, and also it's require farmer to kind of engage in calling someone, and on the other side, they will have to search around and provide an answer. Second option is they go to applications or agri advisory services, which is actually many agri input companies who are trying to sell their product. They will provide a free agri input service. But then farmer has this problem, like, when they go to a website or the app or platform, they understand that their goal is to sell them something. So the advisory is biased in a way, like, farmer understand that very well. They're like, if I'm going for an advice, I'll be getting a biased advice. The third source is like Googling something, but not everybody can do it. Like I think that's very straightforward. That like not everybody gonna do Google. Also understand the words and the meaning, and like out of 2040 search results, they'll not able to process which one need to be used. Maybe the very progressive farmer can do, but even we have some story where progressive farmer were able to rely on ours to actually confirm the answer. And the fourth, which is the most widely used way of getting information, is ask a guy in this end of the street who is maybe a little more knowledgeable than them, which is like the one of the biggest source of misinformation. Because we know that not the person in the same village knows everything. Maybe there are some people who may know, but when the farmer is relying to this source, there is there is a possibility that they will not get the proper answer. And the fifth one, which will be the going to the agriculture universities to directly go and ask them recommendation, which is, ideally should be the case, but the professors over there are not available for hundreds of thousands of farmers coming to them and asking question every day. And you also have to travel, you have to find an appointment and things like that. So they just avoid and rely to the guy on the end of the street or someone, local expert, right? And someone who may have figured out will go to an app to ask the question. But if you look at, all this five possibility, either there is a like a multiple hop they have to take to get the information, which is kind of they drop off in between, or the information they're receiving is like biased or like not true. So this is what we saw, and that's like right now current 4 or 5 way of farmers to getting the information.
So okay, so now that establishes the problem, which is there's information that these farmers need to actually do good productive farming, but there
Correct,
is a lot of hurdles in actually getting this information, if they can actually even get this information. In some cases, I'm assuming they don't even know the right part to get the information, right?
correct,
So
correct.
tell us a little bit about how Kisan AI then solves for this.
So as we talked about, like these are the different way farmer currently get the knowledge, and by working with them, we found out like these are the different solutions they're using. And with my background and like the things that we've been working, we figured out that like there is a way we can actually provide them unbiased answers. because we what we have to do is just to take the knowledge that has been produced, the recommendation, and deliver in the way that they can comprehend. Now, to comprehend, it need to support their languages. It need to understand what they're trying to say. And then from the knowledge base that we have to solve them in a way that they can understand. And that's why when we launched the KissanAI, we decided we're going to support voice-based question. So they can go in, ask in their local language, and then the answer also get delivered in the same language they asked. So now they don't have to read if like if there's a different level of literacy in among them, and they can just read, listen to that, and then they will have this unbiased answer from the knowledge base, which is basically trusted or acquired from this institute which produced the recommendation. So now they don't have to rely on many middlemen. They can just ask question any time of the day. They can just use their phone, click a button, and they don't have to wait in the phone line. They don't have to take an appointment. They can ask a question at the middle of the night if they want. And that's kind of completely take out all the hurdles that we talked about.
This feels too good to be true from a farmer perspective, right? Like all the hurdles that they actually had to go through, and then now you're just pressing a button. Which is where what I want to jump into is what kind of advancements have we seen in the last few months or years, in fact, um, to get to this where this is possible, multilingual, all the information
Yes,
that they can potentially get, because this is backed by a lot of data, I'm assuming, because there's
correct.
university data, there's research papers, there's new updates that
Yes,
are happening. Tell us a little bit about how
yes.
this works on the back end.
Yeah, correct. So let's go step by step. Like we have been collecting agriculture knowledge base for a couple of years, but the technology was not ready. As you correctly said, the comprehension of the data, right? Like it's stored in a PDF or it's stored in some scan papers, and to represent them, find out the exact answer, and also kind of construct in a sentence, because you are fetching some information out, like this is the distance between two banana plant, this much amount of fertilizer you need, but then getting that context out and also putting in sentences that that enabled by the large language models. And now we have been using large language models for this data. Like GPT-3 is like a couple of year old. So we have been using this for our product, for our other one. But then what other thing happened was then when the GPT 3.5 API cost dropped significantly, it also made us, kind of go to the solution, because, earlier the unit cost was very expensive. That if I go and start like releasing this information and give access to everyone, I may go bankrupt very quickly. So this actually enabled us to kind of have a solution that will work. The unit economic is cheap. It's affordable for the farmer, also for us. Our farmers are not paying anyway. Like I'm figuring out, but at least if the solution is something which is inexpensive, then we can go on the scale. And the second part was the language part. So the language research in terms of AI, it's a separate field, but it has been going on for a while. And there were problems with AS, like automatic like speech recognition, and also the speech to text to speech. But then some of the latest thing which happened, like AI for Bharat is an initiative which actually created the Basini models, which has speech to text, text to speech, like ASR, and also the translation models. So that enable us also look into how we can use the Indian languages and the translation on the lower cost side, because those application and models are also tends to go on like expensive side. And then uh, multiple other APIs for this particular models also kind of got cheaper after the current advancement in LLMs. Like Whisper is the OpenAI model, which kind of do on like very inexpensive way convert any kind of speech and accent for multiple languages into text. So those actually enable us together, like brought everything together to create this application which is not just text based, and solve the core problem that we are trying to solve. Because if I just launch it for text, maybe I'm not targeting the right audience. My audience was always the farmer, and I wanted to make sure that it's always voice and multilingual even before it can start producing the good knowledge. Because if I don't have those two components, the farmer is anyway not getting benefited from this.
Interesting. So one of the things that I got from this was you were so product focused on how this was going to be used by the farmers that you waited for the tech to actually figure itself out
Correct,
before you
correct,
could actually take this to market. The other thing that I understood was you're not charging anything to the farmer. The cost has reduced significantly. That's allowing you to do this out of pocket till
correct,
you figure out monetization. Um,
correct.
Tell us a little bit of how you got traction, because I know you're active on Twitter, but the farmers are not. So
Correct, correct.
how did you actually get traction on this?
Yeah, so for last year, 2.5 or 3 months after we launched, I have relied on the Twitter and LinkedIn post because right now I'm running the whole show by myself. So I'm not actually, I don't have marketing budget. And also the thing is the marketing, excessive marketing in this domain, I have seen doesn't work well because, the farmer have this thing where like, if you're forcefully selling something, that means there is something wrong. Like you have some agenda behind it. So when I kind of published this thing, it was at one point for us to show the capability. But then from the Twitter followers, what we found out that like many people have their some association with their families in farming or something like that, and they started forwarding that back to their family members. So within a first a couple of weeks only, I started getting DMs from there like, oh, I introduced this to my farmer dad, or I introduced to my mother who do home gardening. She's loving it and like she's using it now every day. It's like a daily app to ask questions, things like that. And we have seen like, from that it started spreading organically. So like for me, first month, first launch, I sent couple of tweets. Then after a month, I sent couple of tweets. And that's the only way we kind of reached out. But then we also saw after a month, first month only we had like a 30,000 question answered by let's say just by tweet, and it was growing organically, people spreading around. And then after a month, many media like in India, they started finding it out and they started publishing articles. So like around 100 articles have been published for the Kisan GPT, Kisan AI. And then other thing happened was the Indian influencer on Twitter, like some tech influencer, they figure out. So they kind of demonstrated it and said like, this is something for farmer. Like mostly this influencer scenario, like, they're like more, many of them are paid one. But this
Hmm.
one's like nobody even asking me. They started just creating the demo for the farmers and started spreading and they got like millions of views. And like it also give me like, a lot of traffic back, also feedback and everything. But that's how organically, even today, sometimes there's a new reel popping up somewhere who's making, like, for their languages. They are creating the, like, it may be useful for Andhra people or some Punjabi farmer or influencer trying to make it a YouTube or reel or something like YouTube short for this. And we are just on like we are not interfering. Let them make it if they think it's useful. If the farmers are finding out the useful, they will spread it. It will also kind of create a trust factor because right now we are forcefully feeding out anything to anyone. We are like very open to our limitations too. That we have created this knowledge base. We are collecting from university. It's not 100% there are like 140 different institute, and we will have to work to collect everything, also make sure it's kind of keep updated. So we are working with different agencies, kind of try to have MOUs or collaboration. But that will keep happening. But then we also started seeing that farmers reaching back out with the feedback and say like, okay, sometimes the dialects are not getting captured, or the answers are older. There may be a new technique already. And I was like, thank you, because we are anyway going to update this knowledge base. So maybe soon you will have the updated answers. And they're okay with it. They are ready to wait. They're ready to provide feedback. And they reached out with like, like a free basically tasting happening for us. And it's based to collect the feedback on a feature from the farmer or the user themselves. Then actually I kind of figuring out and deciding product roadmap by myself.
Very, very interesting. Tell us a little bit about the numbers. We were speaking about the kind of traffic that a call center, the 21 call centers in India handle versus the kind of
Yeah.
traffic that you're already handling.
Yeah. So this Kisan call center hotline or the line, whatever you want to call it, take like 25 lakhs call per year. First month we got 30,000 question answers. Second, it went to more than 100, 1 lakh 20,000 question answer. And right now, even with the once we enable tags, many questions are also coming by tag. So we are like in a way, like we are growing 2x. And if we continue growing that, maybe by end of the year, we may be able to handle the same amount of question answer that been answered by the Kisan call center with 21 locations, which is actually when we are not competing with them. We are just trying to make sure the burden on them is kind of reduced. Like, farmer, if they have very deep question, probably they can go there. Or maybe the Kisan call center folks can start using this as like the first go. And then maybe if they have a deep, they can go and jump inside. But ultimately, it's also kind of take away burden from the government agencies to fund and run this thing. While after many years, we are still serving 25 lakh calls a year, which is, if you look at that, it's like quite small number, like
It's
15,000, 20,000.
7,000. It's 7,000 a day.
Yeah,
If you
that's
if you
really
take into account all 365 days, assuming there are,
correct.
holidays and everything, so 10,000 a day, 10, 12,000 a day.
That's very small number, right? So, and actually, at a peak time, we were actually serving 10,000. But then, like right now, it's like 1,000, 2,000 call, which is like still 20%, which is like significant for something which is 2, 3 month old. So,
Hmm.
let's say if we collaborate with Minister of Agriculture or NABARD or whoever, actually try to kind of reach to the farmer and complete the knowledge divide, this number can significantly go higher, because ultimately the thing is farmer have questions. Like, it's not like they don't know, like only 7,000 or 10,000 farmer have question every day. That's not true. But it's just they don't know how to reach out, or the current solutions are not working, anyway. Like, that's like a different discussion why they're not working out. But at least we know why they're not working out is the delay. They have to call and talk to someone on the line. Maybe they are in the mood or not mood. They know, don't know. They're 30 minutes for call to pick up. Many times we have heard on Twitter, they like nobody picks up the call, and it's like a 10 to 6 or 10 to 8. So those kind of situation, the farmers, like once they call and if they don't get, they're like, okay, I'm not going to use it anyway. And then they go back to their older way of finding the information.
Right.
So this one is very first time, even it's simply work, they know, or they are figuring out that, like, maybe first time, maybe I'll get generic answer. But if this keep updating, this is a better way of for me to get answer even in the future. And once we have, like, a whole combined knowledge base of the entire India, then it will be like a go-to thing for anyone to go and ask question regarding them, right? Like at least first, second, third pass we can do. Now you have very, very, like we are also telling where you have very specific question, like go to the agronomist, because like we, like it's also very tricky situation, right? Like if someone is asking very specific question about very specific pest and cotton, fly, blah, 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 then maybe, at one point you want to kind of go and make sure that you are actually talking to some expert, right? And we are saying that we are an assistant. We are not a replacement of agronomists. So we are not here to kind of replace the agronomist. We are just like, don't rely on the guy at the end of, street. Like, or like, नुक्कड़ में कोई भी खड़ा है, उनसे मत पूछो. Go to this one, ask first question. If you get satisfactory answer, it solves, fine. If it doesn't solve, then I maybe go to the agronomist or things like that. And so many questions you have seen can be simply answered, right? There are many questions, as you were talking, like a farmer is doing one kind of a crop or taking one kind of crop for generations. Now he decide, I want to grow pineapple because maybe pineapple prices are going up, but he doesn't have any clue about what are different type of varieties of pineapple, which is working in Indian weather, which will work for this state, what kind of water it needs, how long is the crop. Now, how would any farmer will know, right? So you can now go to KissanAI and say, like, start conversation like, okay, what are the top 5 pineapple varieties has been grown in India? And it will give you answer. Then you select one. It's like, okay, this one, tell me more about that. How much time does it take for crop to complete, and when it's complete, and things like that. They will give you answer, which is actually good preliminary for you to kind of figure out. And then once you decided, like, okay, I want to go with this particular variety, and then you can go to the whoever is actually creating varieties, or the nursery, or whoever is going to provide the seeds, or the whatever samplings or graft or something like that.
What I'm thinking about now is, before all of this information, what used to happen is, generally किसी एक एरिया में किसी ने फिगर आउट किया कि टमाटर दिस ईयर वाज वेरी हाई प्राइस, लेट्स ऑल
Correct.
ग्रो tomatoes, right? There
All
was no
growth.
individual creativity, there was no nothing.
Correct. Correct.
But now this is a powerful tool where individual farmers can be creative on what they want to grow, can grow
Correct.
crops that maybe the neighborhood farmers are not growing, and
Correct.
actually can get a better price because the supply is going to be lesser for those products.
Exactly. So a couple of things, like as you are right, like this is this uh, school of fish thinking,
Yeah.
because everybody think like, okay, if one guy has done something good, next year we're going to rely on whatever his knowledge is, and then everybody will grow cabbage in the same day, like in the same week, and then everybody's crop will be ready on the same time after 3 months, and then nobody will get the proper price they need to get, right? So you can actually ask the Kisani and say, like, what is the base time to grow something? It will say, okay, February to March, or 2 months before the monsoon, something like that. And now it will also give you like, okay, this is the time I need to grow something like that. Or like, as you say, like, they have now at least independence to talk to something, ask question about varieties, time to grow, how much time will it take, and not rely on the guy who's like one successful and now you guys believe that he is the one we always have to rely. And everybody does the same thing and nobody get the value out of the crop.
Yeah, very interesting. Dr. Desai, for this to work, I know you're bootstrapped right now. You're not charging anything to the farmers, but in the long run, there needs to be some monetization that you need to figure it out. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about, and I know it's early days, so it's not like it's concrete, but tell us a little bit about the possible ways you're thinking about monetizing this.
So we have two ways of doing working on monetization, and we have actually kind of good progress working with that. So first one is the API platform. So what we have is like multilingual voice and text based end to end pipeline, the knowledge base, ChatGPT, and the agriculture knowledge base that we have created. Now, when we provide the answer on Kisan AI, it's unbiased. It's not kind of telling one product to be sold or something like that. But then many agri input companies like the standard one who actually produce seeds and pesticides and fertilizer, which farmer regularly use, they all also face this problem where they have to keep huge amount of people or the farmer kind of go and talk to their call center or their app or platform, and they have to go through a lot of process to figure out what to use. Like for example, if one company want to sell, not company, farmer want to find a solution for, let's say, worm, like one worm in their cotton crop, right? So they go to a website and they have to select something, call them, figure out. And the guy sitting on the company's website, they also have to list, like look at the product portfolio of 100 items and say, okay, the cotton worm, these three items going to work out, right? So the API platform is basically what's helping them, that we're going to put the knowledge base of the company on top of it. So whenever a question come to either their customer, or if their sales representative are using it, or their customer service people are using it, this tool integrated inside their platform will first actually give them a solution among their product. And then if it's not there, if it's asking for five popular mango for a pesticide company, then it will go and still deliver the answer of five popular mangoes in India. But the question comes about the worm and what pesticide need to be used for cotton, it will deliver the answer. In term, when you are doing organic farming or natural farming, if something is not regulated, there are many also companies like popping up here and they're trying to sell something which is probably not kind of tasted well. So we're going to start with some companies who are already there with a lab and tasted things. So we build and keep building our trust with the farmer. And the second thing which actually came from there, where the farmers reached out to on our feedback form, and even the message is that I ask you question about what kind of fertilizer I need to use for this particular plant. You give me this percentage of, let's say, phosphorus I need to be using for this farm. Now, if I take and copy and paste your answer to Google, I'm going to go in the same loop where I will have multiple options to buy from, right? Or somewhere else. So if I take this answer to a shopkeeper, he will still end up selling me what he want to sell. Like, that happens most of the time. Like, going to a bank loan and they like just try to force feed you something. So there's like, why don't you give me the suggestions of this percentage phosphorus fertilizer, which are already available in the market? So what will end up happening is we are completing the hook where you ask a question, you receive answer, and you have product to buy which exactly matches for the percentage that you have given, right? So this is something we are going to start kind of uh, tasting. But I think for that I'm waiting for some foot traffic. Like even if I have to convince someone to come and list your stuff on our website, we have so many people coming, and they need to also understand like that what kind of user you're getting, the payment and stuff. But this is something kind of the product in making, where it kind of replace completely on a like on a Google or some kind of shopping website where you start with the question. You don't ask like when you're looking for a headphone on Amazon, you like so many options and things like that. But if I enable something like this on Amazon, it's like I'm looking for headphone between this range to that, which is good for podcasting and which has this much dB, noise cancellation method. Give me something like that, and it gives you exactly couple of things, right? Which solves the problem, which may Amazon maybe future come with, but right now we already have this solution. Just the thing is that we are implementing for agriculture, and I think nobody is probably in their right mind right of thinking to bring it in agriculture because it's like they don't see a lot of returns coming out. And for us, we anyway were building agriculture. This is our uh, core competency. So we are going to stick and implement this lot of new things for agriculture, which is surprising many people. Like For example, other thing was the asking market prices. Like,
Mm.
right now, the current way of anyone to get a market price is they go to couple of the websites, like the government website, select commodity, state, district, mandi, date, whatever other selection, click a button and they get like a list of things. But I'm a farmer in Nasik looking for grape prices. Then what will happen pretty soon when we raise this feature where farmer can just call button and ask in Hindi कि कल नासिक मंडी में grapes का price क्या था, and then it will just directly get that it was 200 rupees per quintal and that's it. And or they will say like what was the average price in January in Nasik for grapes, and they're like, okay, this was the average price or something like that. So this is something we are enabling, and this is also one of the like its kind of feature where it can be implemented and helpful for many other industry, but it will be kind of roll out to agriculture first because we are working in agriculture. We've been always in the forefront of releasing the features. Like Kisan AI or Kisan GPT was also first agriculture generative AI based chatbot in the whole world. Right? There was like we came out released in March 15, which was like the same day GPT-4 was released, and after like couple of months now, some other being released in US called Norm and Ad, but they are like part of some companies chatbot kind of thing. And this is still like one of a kind, which is helping agriculture institute. And we are now getting requests from different countries because what they like is the language part because it
Mm.
easily can deliver them. So like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Muscat, South America, South Africa, we have people and the companies who are working. It's like, okay, like, can you do it for Swahili? Can you do it for Sinhala? Can you do it for something like that? It's like, we are focusing on the Bharat first. And once we have this successfully working, we will love to kind of go and expand it to other ways.
I love the fact that all these companies who made farmers wait in line to actually deliver their products or services or answer their questions are now waiting in line for you to actually, for them to get access to the platform that you're building. This is
Yeah.
some sweet justice.
I would like, if I'm doing a moderation, I'm not going to kind of call out them because anyway, end of the day, they're going to be my customer. But I'm happy that many companies are thinking that way. Like maybe many
Yeah.
companies who are like a large company, they do understand, but the problem. But the thing is, they have to rely on the traditional way of doing it because if they start kind of going directly, then they will lose the distribution network. And there's so many other problems in between, right? Like,
Mm.
you have to rely on them. You like it's like a dealership, like car dealership. Like, companies can directly sell to the people if they want to, but there is like a middle layer. They always kind of keep them, kind of पकड़ के रखा है, like, they are not
तो
there.
ये हर
So
एज़ यू सेड आई थिंक हर इंडस्ट्री में कार डीलरशिप से लेके एफएमसीजी एवरीबॉडी इज़ डीलिंग विद दिस वेयर यू हैव द मेथड्स एंड टेक्नोलॉजीज एंड सप्लाई चेन इन प्लेस टू go directly to consumer, but for ages you've been investing in this, network of people who take your products and services that you can't really disrupt it. And everybody has
disrupt.
this dilemma on how do you really crack that. I
Yeah,
love the aspect of getting different companies to build their own version of bots using the Kisan AI platform, because then the overall experience that a farmer still has to go through different companies and financial institutions and whatnot, that's not going to change by just keeping this bot independent, right? As soon as you make it a platform where other companies can use it, the overall experience of a farmer gets impacted significantly more. And that's
significantly. Yeah,
something that I realized in your entire conversation is how you make money is secondary, how you build the product, everything is secondary compared to that farmer's life improving. I think
correct,
everything that we spoke about, this comes shines through, which is, can I make the farmer's life better? Can I help them increase the productivity? Can I just help them in overall in their
correct.
life?
And that's a product market fit, right? Like if you are actually solving a problem, and like as I said, like we found out that we are solving a great problem after people started using and giving feedback. Earlier, it was like, okay, it's a like, demonstration of capability that, we can actually quickly build this thing. And now people are using it, giving feedback, and we realize that, like, yes, it was something we thought about that we're going to solve it, but how impactful it was and how much people are loving it and spreading it. And people are thinking about implementing it on from the government's level to the company's level. And many foundations are reaching out and they want to kind of use this thing. So we realized that the problem was real. The problem just needed some kind of trigger, so it's working out. And by as you were talking about the networks they have built, like they want outsider to disrupt, then that they want to disrupt because then they lose the network, right? If outsider disrupt this whole network, then the network will also figure out how to use and quickly answer. As I was saying, like you have 150 product portfolio, and either you need a very expert guy, a highly paid guy who remembers everything, or maybe he remembers everything, but after a few months, he just gonna, okay, just use this one, right? But then when you have a solution which quickly answer, like, faster than opening an Excel file, say, what three product or what product I should use for the cotton and worm. And it's like, okay, one, two, three, that's it. Then the problem or the distribution task also reduce, like, the burden goes down, and you don't have to have, like, all the delays happening in decision making there, right? So the knowledge get transferred, everyone's life get easier, and the farmers is ultimately, like, that's all also our goal is, like, if we have like 800 million people in a rural, urban, semi-urban area, like we call it Bharat. And while we are talking about like India GDP, this much number, when we third and all, we 800 million people, even if their life and their, like, purchasing power parity go even double, that's significantly going to change, like, the whole India's outcome. And right now, most of the solutions that I have seen build, because I was there in Silicon Valley. So basically, I'm not even talking about Bangalore. Bangalore, they are making solutions for probably US companies, to get paid in dollar, but not everybody was building for like this bar. And our goal was to, like, let's find out the solution that we can build which affect the end users. And that's how we also see the, like, a goodwill coming from other um, big companies who are actually supporting our operation in some way. So because they also understand, like, if we can sell AI application to the Indian farmer, then we have a real market fit for AI for everyone. Because,
Mm,
like, this is the end user, like it's like a mobile phone and 4G. Like once
right.
they started using it, everybody realized it, like, yeah, digital revolution can be possible. Now we can actually provide all the information by OTP and UPI and everything, right? UPI is possible because of the phones. Like
Correct.
otherwise, like phone and Geo, UPI couldn't have been possible, right? So this is happening. So now we have realized that this kind of applications can actually drastically improve the life of the people, like everyday life, right? Now, and their crop will go 50% more. That's actually going to change the whole, face of the whole industry, and also for India and everyone. Like, there are going to be challenges, but I, if, and we are not like limiting to just agriculture. For example, we have been approached by financial institutes or the banks who wants to kind of say, like, we have seen this big problem where uh, small term lending companies are kind of exploiting farmer by giving 20-30% interest rate for, like, whenever someone is in like musibat mein, to, like, exploit them. So big farm banks, they have like different schemes for farmer. It's just that they cannot reach out to them. So their goal is like, how about you just on your website enable a farmer come and ask, like, okay, I need a tractor loan, who are providing tractor loan. Then whichever banks has the tractor loan available, they say, okay, this bank, these are the links you can click and maybe you get more information. Or maybe later they can have a conversation. They're like, this is my, can I qualify for that? What are the steps? And we'll try to provide that. So on the financial end, then probably on future, like health, education, agriculture, and like, and with the market data, it's actually can help them to identify which mandi they should go to get more, like, price for what their crop is. So it and build up towards, like doubling. I'm not going into exact number, like, we can double the farmer's income, but it can significantly start like the upward mobility for them. So now they start using technology more because they understand, like, it's helping us out, which kind of keep completing the knowledge divide. Today they are asking question for pesticide. It works out. Tomorrow they're going to start asking question about loans. And it's like, why don't you just give me everything about that? Like, okay, and many other different things, which probably even education level where, so much things relied on uh, like local expertise, like, many times, like, ye khaoge to acha ho jayega, isse cancer ho jata hai, like, or WhatsApp messages, which has actually kind of ruined the whole knowledge game, right? So if they start building trust with this application which delivering them good factual knowledge regularly, then they can also start cross checking them comparatively, like, okay, let me just ask this one, if you're saying it right or wrong.
As you said, once you win the trust of the Kisan, then the possibilities of what you can build on top of it are endless, right? Because
Correct.
then you're talking about all kinds of agriculture problems, all kind of financial problems, all kind of personal health problems, personal finance problem, all of
Exactly.
those things, right?
Exactly.
Um, I think you briefly ended it, and that's the direction that I also wanted to go in, which is right now we are talking about text and speech and using that to solve problems, right? But I'm assuming that's still scratching the surface on the kind of problems that can be solved using artificial intelligence, right?
Correct.
Satellite data, processing weather data, giving recommendations based on that. I know this has been around for there were apps where you could click a picture and it would tell you what kind of pest you have, what kind of disease you
Correct.
have.
Correct.
So I want to take that conversation in that direction on what do you think in the near future, all kind of possibilities using AI that can impact agriculture to help them actually become better farmers and improve yield.
Correct, correct. So the image one. So image, there were some application already, and like we are also kind of thinking like so. We have a good relationship with OpenAI, and like they are kind of backing us up in sense of like they're supporting the initiative. And whenever they have multimodal um, GPT-4 released, where you can actually ask picture and ask what like because so when it's possible, I will make sure that quickly integrate that part of, because once we do that, we can also start having not just the pest related question, because those pest related models were very specific for design for just identifying pest. But you can so many things like take a picture of soil and then say like
Mhm.
ask question like, okay, do we need more water? And so many possibilities like integrating, as you said, weather information, right? So uh Mm, and the location combined with the weather, like we have some companies reaching out like, can you integrate sensor information? Like we have collected a lot of sensor information now today. As with the small team, we are expanding capabilities. But if as we build some like the API platform for someone to deliver their product portfolio or the knowledge base, maybe we can actually create a some other uh, like product out of it, which is used for sensor information,
Hmm.
where you ask question and say like, okay, and the sensor information get fed in, which says your humidity level of soil was this one, which is like, farmer is not asking. That data is basically get a fed in from the APIs of their customers, right? So he's asking like, why my cotton is not giving me more output, right? So right now, the general purpose answer would be like, okay, you have to take care of humidity, you have to take pesticide, fertilizer. But if you have sensor information, then we can say, okay, we already know that your humidity level is probably low, and this is something you should do, like that. So that would be like, very precise answer. Same thing with the location and weather. I think that will be also able to improve, because Indian geography, the method of growing the crop, uh, like the practices, weather, everything is different. Like there's so many microclimates. So like one solution probably will not be applicable for even let's say we are from Gujarat, but we have different weather and geography for South Gujarat, North Gujarat, Saurashtra, Kutch is like more desert. So we have to also make sure that like the recommendation get kind of very location specific. So right now even it's generic. Tomorrow if we start logging farmers locations and his previous question and answer, we will be able to in future provide where we can say, okay, your last crop was sucked a lot of uh, nitrogen out of the soil. You want to grow beans, which will actually
Mhm.
for so crop rotation rotation advices, which right now farmers probably farmer does it from their experiences. But tomorrow, let's say he starts growing pineapple. Now we know the pineapple. What's the crop rotation? Good crop rotation for the pineapple will be. And now they don't have to kind of continuously keep asking, because we know already. We can suggest them like, okay, you had a 18 months of pineapple crop. Maybe for 6 months you want to grow something else. It should help you. And this will also sustainable actually farming too, because now you are actually making sure the soil's health is improved, maintained, and that now we are 3 month old, but now and we haven't even started logging farmers information. We can soon have where the farmer can actually create an account, and we'll make sure that whatever question and the location they're asking store saved. And then probably within a year or so, we will be able to have like some kind of custom advices where they can start getting this kind of advices. Now we'll go through a lot of experimentation, but now with the current way, it's possible that it's not like impossible anymore. That earlier that people were like skeptical about AI and machine learning, and like they were hesitant to implement the solution. Now we have seen the power, and it's like every day, like I'm in the forefront, I'm in SF, I talk to many people who are working on latest technology, and the possibilities are like limitless. Right now they're just trying to kind of release slowly. It's also because some of them are afraid that, like, maybe it may get more powerful enough. But the solution that we are working are simple in terms of, like, we are not going there to build any AGI. Our goal is to bring at least the whatever is ready and useful, implement application and use cases which is helpful for farmers, like a simplified version.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge population who doesn't have even have a knowledge, as we talked earlier. Like they don't have even have proper knowledge. At least we solve that with this. Then we'll worry about AGI and all, like with crazy problems people are worried about.
Yeah. Dr. Desai, this was such a fascinating conversation. I can't believe the kind of stuff that you're working on and the kind of impact that you're going to be creating using Kisan AI. I can't wait for all the future possibilities that you spoke about on what this platform will be able to do as you integrate with other partners and financial institutions and agri input companies. I've very briefly in my life for a year or so, I was working with farmers, and that's when my eyes open on the kind of problems that they face on a day to day basis and how big a bubble that the urban India lives in, when it comes to where their food actually comes from and what it takes to actually grow their food. So hats off for the kind of work that you're doing. And I know
Thank
this
you.
wasn't easy. We spoke about it earlier. There were, for the last 2 3 years, you've been working in this industry. There have been some products that took off, some products didn't take off. But the dedication and the opportunity cost for you, right? Because as you said, you were co-founder in a couple of companies, as a machine learning scientist, giving all of that up to focus on the farming community in India and now globally as you're getting requests. Kudos to the perseverance and determination that you've showed, and thank you so much for doing what you do.
Thank you. No, I think it's been pleasure. I think satisfaction is very important when you actually, like the previous startup, we try to build a wearable, like a smart jewelry, which actually, before Apple Watch, help you out with like some notification, things like that, which is fine. Like, the person who is using probably use it or not use it, it's not going to like make a drastic change in their life. But over here, when you receive like a feedback from farmer, like we have one success story is like, which is one of the early user from Chhattisgarh. He was growing germanium, forgot the whole name of the plant. He was trying to make a air freshener out of it, and he was relying on Google to get answer. He was like confused with the solution need to buy. He used it like application. He reached out that it helped him to kind of focus on what need to be done. Then he went purchase chemicals, get air freshener, have started his startup. And recently he reached out yesterday only that he got into some incubation, startup incubation. So now a farmer, like he's a progressive farmer, like you did all level of farmers there. But this is enabling agripreneurs industry where when agripreneurs they can do research and all, but they also need, as I said, like out of 40 answers to make air freshener, to get something, to have a conversation and say, like, this is exactly I want. And the AI can actually help you to provide and say, okay, this is the focus thing need to do. Like, you need to focus on. And if it works, then you're creating entrepreneur. I think there are many stories like that are now building up, and like they're so happy and satisfaction, and someone reach out and say, like, thank you, like I'm getting into incubation, which is like, that's what we are here for, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the farming community is probably the biggest target for exploitation, by different kinds of, as you said, financial institutions, local financial players, or whatever you call them. And this truly has the potential to stop that exploitation to a large extent, because now you
correct.
have a trusted source of unbiased information that will point you in the right direction and not somebody with conflict of interest. That
Correct.
itself is extremely powerful. Everything, like is satellite imaging and soil, all of that is cherry on the cake. Just stopping that exploitation at the ground level is mind blowing.
Yes. Correct, correct. And I think it's also kind of opening up possibility for them where they can understand, like, they can rely on something like this instead of relying on the neighbor, basically, which is gonna break this chain, because ultimately they, as you're talking about, like this network has been established. And many people, like, when we tried to build the previous product, they came out to us and say, like, this network runs the whole country, you cannot disrupt it. And it's like, it doesn't work what you're trying to do. And I was like, okay, like, this is my approach. I'm going to try it out. If it's work, it not work. At least I'm coming from a good intention to implement something. And like, like before we launched, we had like other product launch which work on some success or not success, but at least our intention and vision was clear that we want to have as many middle layer reduced. So, the dripping when it goes
Yeah.
from consumer to the farmer, like, as many layer if we can remove for knowledge or the market or the crop, that's going to actually ultimately help farmer, because 80 rupees kg tomatoes you're buying, ultimately only 20 reaches to the farmer, right? Ideally, it should not be. Ideally, it should be like, let's say if you're in transportation, if you get out, if you're paying 80 rupees, be like 40 rupees you should be getting. That is going double. 20 to 40 is doubling the farmer's income. That's it. Like there only you got this thing, right? And that's actually drastically change everything. Now, we're not saying like, we're going to, the middle layers are not important. The middle layer where they do exploitation are the one which actually have to be removed.
And all the middle layers were relying on information asymmetry. At the end of the day, the Aarti, the middleman, whoever was relying on information asymmetry on what I can take this to market, what is the possible ways to take this to market,
Correct.
and that's what they were capturing, that 60 out of the 80. And if you can remove that, which you can with the AI, then you
Yeah.
get that 40, even 50 to the farmer.
Yes, and these people were like knowledge vyapari. They were not like actual commodity vyaparis. Like, so I have a knowledge of where the onion get produced most or the garlic get produced most, and I know where it goes, right? And that particular knowledge has been passed through them, and they keep it like very close, and that's where they actually uh, their bread and butter, and that's maybe like the whole supply chain. They are the one who actually getting benefited the most by just the knowledge. They are not actually working hard in the field. They are not the shopkeeper who is talking and selling everything, or the consumer are buying. These are just the knowledge player who actually understand where this is coming from and selling. Now that knowledge is open in terms of not just buying and selling, from agri inputs to fertilizer, pesticide equipments, bank loan and everything. So now, like, in a way, they are exposed to the questioning, which is also helpful to reduce. If their profit rate get down, farmer will be benefited, right? Or consumer will benefit. Someone will be benefited. And like knowledge, and I think that's the going to be the AI's biggest impact is the knowledge is like everybody has a like a second brain, which is like
Yeah.
coming from the AI, right? So now you don't have to kind of remember everything. You don't need to know everything, or you don't need to be expert at googling something. Now it's there, it's kind of really nicely kind of converted into proper knowledge, and you can always go and ask it. So the reliance on this knowledge vyaparis or knowledge workers kind of reduced, which is in a way it's like good for the people who are doing hard work,
Yeah.
and just not using. It's like a trading where like some traders have like very good knowledge of market, they make all the money, and like maybe I always lose money in the trading. So it's like, okay, it's like, why, let's just rely on them. So now at least in farming it's very simpler. Trading is more like betting and all, but farming is more simpler. Knowledge can be spread, and that's going to actually kind of break down.
Even education for agriculture, for that matter, right now, everything that we spoke about was, it was originated a problem that the farmer faced, and that's why they were looking for an answer. But tomorrow you could actually feed them information that's more proactive, saying that, hey, these are all the new advancements that are happening in agriculture, and this might be relevant to the kind of crops and the kind of soil that you have, and check it out.
Yeah. And this is one of the topic we are like thinking about working with Minister of Agriculture, where, many new technology and the recommendation get generated in different part of the world where they are probably doing very efficient farming. So how I can bring those recommendation or technology to the farmers, like, this is maybe you do this way and it will definitely increase your yield, something like that. Or maybe start putting like a net on your fruits, right? Maybe it's a simple way, because sometimes you have to protect fruits from the kittens and the squirrels and things like the rats. So like, okay, in California they're using this technique, it's working out, maybe we use that one, something like that. And sometimes it's like they may know, they may have read somewhere, but it's like, where do I, like, is it trusted information? They saw some picture. Now we saw them the answer, and maybe like, give this couple of, as I was saying, like product listing is like, okay, if you go to this link, they are selling this net. You want to try for some try? So now they have answer and there's something to buy. They can buy and try it out. And if it's helping in California, probably it will help over there by protecting the fruits and things like that. So
Yeah.
many such thing it's possible, like, bringing knowledge, not the knowledge divide of our recommendation, bringing something from outside. And there's so many possibilities. Like, it's going to be, as we integrate sensors and the weather information, because weather information earlier I remember 15 years back, if something come on DD National about like, okay, there is a like, बारिश होने वाली है, they were like नहीं होगी क्योंकि उन्होंने बोला है बारिश होने वाली है. Now it's very accurate. Now we are
Yeah.
actually by Doppler radar, you are tracking the cloud moving, and it's very perfect. If they see it's going to happen. So we integrate that one with the this thing. So like, okay, so, rain has started. There is a good possibility that rain gonna come. You want to protect your mango plants or flowering or something like that, and then you could use this thing to protect the mango flowering because mango flowering get affected by the rain a lot.
Yeah.
So if the rain comes a little earlier, the mango flower will drop and you'll have a less crop. So those kind of things can be implemented. There's so many things like that actually once we
Yeah.
start integrating. And we have a notification which goes, okay, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, there are going to be rain. There is a 90% possibility of rain. So maybe whoever are proactive, they will get a notification, start doing this thing. Other thing was very interesting thing which came out from farmer suggestion. It's like you are logging the question from one area. So let's say some people in the Vidarbha started suddenly talking about a cotton pest. You are seeing a lot of people asking question about cotton pest. What does it mean? That means many farmers had figured out that there's some kind of worms happening right now. So you're doing early prediction before it become a pandemic, right?
Mm.
Like you're trending the search and you can actually notify the local authority and say like, this area has found like this many farmers suddenly are started asking about cotton pest. It's spreading. You may want to take a precaution, something like that, which is like an early system, right? Because
That is amazing.
right now, right now, until it's like such a big issue, it will not appear, right? Unless all the crop is destroyed, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. But now we can actually start tracking all these trends, like because it happens a lot. Like a lot of infestation happen, it destroy a lot of crops. Then once it's like very high level, then you will employ, like employed like devices or people on the ground. But meanwhile, so much crop has been already destroyed, which we can also stop, right? Or maybe first 5 farms, they start asking this question and we kind of employ all the people that need to be there on the ground or notify people around who are doing the same thing. It's like, be aware there is something like that is happening. So early notification, we can start doing such a, and these features are actually coming from the farmers. They told like, can you do this thing? Like I can, like, I need to just reach at the level where I can, start
Yeah.
actually doing, implementing it. But it's going to be possible, maybe not 6 months, maybe year, where we will able to do like this kind of early prediction and notify the authority and say, many people are asking, at least you go send a guy in this village where suddenly people started asking all about cotton worms or cotton flies or something like that. And that's a kind of, they at least they can check it out and, do some precautionary things if they have to.
That is mind blowing. It feels like we don't even know the kind of possibilities that will come up because of artificial intelligence right now, and these will be these will be ideas that the farmers are going to come up with. Hey, can you do this? And we'll
Yeah,
soon realize that yeah, it's actually possible, right?
right.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Desai, for taking the time out. Thank you so much for the kind of work that you're doing. As I said earlier, for you to do this for the last 2-3 years and to land up at Kisan AI with all the opportunity cost that you are sitting in Silicon Valley with so many startups in founding teams or founding opportunities. For you to do this, it's mind blowing. Thank you so much for the work that you do.